This month on All Hands TV, we take a look toward the future. Global Fleet Station is just one example of new Navy initiatives. And we also take a look at a new class of supply ships.
I'm your host, Petty Officer Matt Oldham, and this is All Hands Television.
This is Sea Lion 2, a new experimental craft the Navy is currently testing. Well, it's not only new vessels that keeps our Navy ahead of the curve, it's new ideas. Petty Officer Steve Smith traveled to Belize, where HSV-2 Swift was engaged in a new kind of mission.
HSV-2 Swift is deployed to Central America and the Caribbean for 6 months. Their mission is not to be at sea, but to be in port. Global Fleet Station combines the capabilities of the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and other agencies. Working together, they meet with foreign governments to teach them and to learn from them, working towards the common goal of building partnerships. And to build those partnerships, they're armed with teams of instructors to train sailors, special forces, and police. This time, the students they train are from Belize. On the first 2-week visit, they begin with the basics.
Yeah, 3-strand line is really...
Well, the coxswain course is designed to take junior aspiring coxswains to bring their skill levels up to a higher level where they could actually function as a coxswain. We try to involve everything from basic standard terminology on vessels, line handling, and then mooring techniques, getting underway techniques, man overboard recoveries, and more in the final phases of the course, we get into navigation.
Basic seamanship in small boats is a hot topic, and there's also leadership.
The first part of the training was on leadership. I've taught how to become an effective leader, to do things in a manner that will motivate my subordinates, and also for me to work in a position that my supervisor will be pleased with the results.
Training isn't all that goes on. Another group of sailors is hard at work on shore. Today they're cleaning up a local school and orphanage.
Well, in each of the countries we've gone to, the ComRail has been real important because it shows a different side of the military. It's been a real great opportunity for us to see the different countries and see and be able to help out and do more than just work with the military, but work with the local people as well.
I have actually been able to participate in every ComRail that we've done on board the Swift, so it is great. Getting out here in the community is the best thing we can do.
Back on board, the training cycle comes to an end.
Seaman Diego Nicholson.
Basically, you guys have some fine instructors, especially with the U.S. Coast Guard and Navy. They worked hand in hand with us, and basically that gave us our momentum and drive to work with each other.
Graduation marks the beginnings of a partnership and another step towards security.
The rest of your training when they come back through, guys, and I'll get you some anchors.
But the mission is far from over, so Swift must move on.
Underway, ship collars.
But she'll be back. The next stop is the Dominican Republic. Swift enters the tiny port of Santo Domingo. Here, there's actually a pier to tie up to, instead of anchoring a few miles offshore like in Belize. It's no coincidence Swift was used for the first Global Fleet Station. HSV-2 Swift was chosen to execute the Global Fleet Station pilot program for a few reasons. This unique ship can transit from one country to another at very high speed. And once it gets there, it can maneuver into the smallest of ports with no outside assistance. And its versatile configuration allows for training to take place in full-size classrooms right on board.
Most of the Global Fleet Station locations that we've gone into don't have a whole lot of port services. Our propulsion system allows us to come and go into port without the assistance of tugs. So getting into the more austere locations where other countries actually need our help, makes Swift a good platform to support the Global Fleet Station mission.
Once in port, the cycle begins immediately. The students report for class. Like most of the students Swift has hosted, these students are Spanish-speaking. Translators will work to do more than just overcome the language barrier.
Well, one very important aspect of this is we want to be able to communicate in a manner that will be consistent with their culture, with their way of life. That way they can really understand the mission of port security.
And port security is a priority for the Global Fleet Station.
The United States and our partners share a common interest in maritime security. Terrorism, narco-trafficking, human trafficking, piracy, all of those issues do not care about nationality. Therefore, one country cannot solve the problem themselves, but together, as a partnership, we can.
That teamwork and partnership is a recurring theme in every course.
And we're getting with different units, military, police, Coast Guard, their Navy, and we're teaching them what tactics we know on the small boats and helping them so that when they have missions assigned, they can take these skills and this knowledge that we give them and help it for a smoother transition through their tactics and operations.
One of the key elements of Global Fleet Station is maintaining a presence. The team on board will visit and train with several countries. Once they have completed, they will turn around and do it again, with roughly 60 days between return visits.
The Global Fleet Station is about maintaining presence and security. This is done by teaching foreign sailors and learning from them, building relationships and adding to the 1,000-ship Navy one partner at a time. Reporting for the Naval Media Center, I'm Petty Officer Steve Smith.
Global Fleet Station didn't just happen. One of the proponents of the idea was Vice Admiral John Morgan Jr. I had a chance to sit down with the Admiral and ask him what prompted the development of GFS.
It's a fascinating concept that's actually being put into reality right now with Swift. How it's different is this, is we're using the Global Fleet Station, one, as a concept, but two, in reality, we're using it as a platform from which not only Navy and Coast Guard and Marine Corps can help build cooperation and partnership in regions around the world, but it's also a base for the interagency, where departments outside the Department of Defense or Homeland Security can help participate, can help build those partnerships and to help advance cooperation around the world. It's also a base from which non-governmental organizations can participate. And so that's very important. So what the Global Fleet Station is doing is, you and I take for granted right now that we operate in a joint force. But Global Fleet Stations is going beyond jointness. It's going into the interagency realm, which is bringing all the elements of national power to bear as opposed to just military elements. That's the key difference in Global Fleet Stations.
We'll be back with a look at a new class of ship after this message.
In the August issue of All Hands, learn about the benefits of laser eye surgery and how new technology is allowing sailors to return to full duty in record time following the procedure. We also travel to Newport, Rhode Island to find out why the officers of the surface warfare community call this their second home. Read these stories and more in the August issue of All Hands magazine. All Hands, your Navy, your magazine.
Greetings from Bisbee, Arizona. My name is Alona Smirkanich. I'm director of the Bisbee Visitor Center. Bisbee was founded in 1880 as a copper mining town, and if you can believe it or not, it was the biggest city between St. Louis and San Francisco at one time. This is the Lavender Pit. It was once the biggest open pit of copper mining in the world. Mining commenced here in 1951, ceased in 1974. This is a world-famous brewery gulch. It had 47 saloons and as many brothels. Today, it's an artist colony. This monument is dedicated to our service members. You are always in our thoughts. We thank you for what you're doing, And if you're ever in southeastern Arizona, please come by and see us.
As the world changes, we need to adapt and develop new ships and aircraft, like Sea Lion 2, to meet the demands of the Navy mission. Petty Officer David Michael Ross will take us back to the roots and foundation of the surface Navy, and then take us forward to catch a glimpse of what is to come.
With the end of the American Revolution, and Britain no longer posing a threat, the U.S. Navy all but vanished in 1783.
But we have our sea lanes. We're doing trade with various nations across the world. And there are various factions like the Barbary pirates that are interfering with our trade, are battling our merchantmen. We need a navy now.
A small but effective navy of 6 frigate ships is formed in 1797. Amongst the new ships was the USS Constitution.
And literally, it would have cannons bounce off it. It was that strong. So that's why Constitution gets her nickname Old Ironsides.
A seminal period in naval surface history began after geostrategist Alfred Mahan produced his book, The Influence of Sea Power Upon History, in 1890.
It is Mahan's book that emphasized the fact that we need to be strong not only in our coast defense, but in our power projection around the world. One of Mahan's adherents, Theodore Roosevelt, was Assistant Secretary of the Navy at about the time of the Spanish-American War. Roosevelt had seen how successful the Navy had been during that war, and later, when he became president, decided that he was going to build a new Navy, a stronger Navy, which is called the Great White Fleet. The Great White Fleet is the first time that the United States asserts itself on the world scene.
Roosevelt becomes an advocate of a canal to be built across the Isthmus of Panama.
With the success of the fleet and the need for the fleet to be able to protect either the Atlantic or the Pacific coasts, Roosevelt was able to get the canal built. This would be vital to the defense of the United States.
From the turn of the century to World War II, naval planners looked upon naval battles as being a major action between lines of battleships.
Both lines of battleships came together 10 to 50 miles apart. From that point on, the two sides would duke it out, and whichever side lost the least would eventually win the battle. After World War I, a new type of ship was added to this mix, the aircraft carrier.
The mission of the aircraft carriers was to protect the battleships.
But the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, changes this completely. The battle line, the battle fleet of the United States fleet, is either sunk or incapacitated during the attack. But the aircraft carriers survive. Later on, through the Battle of Coral Sea, and later on from that, the Battle of Midway, the Americans are forced to use their aircraft carriers as the major capital warship.
Many have speculated whether or not the aircraft carrier is to remain the Navy's capital ship.
I would say the naval picture is changing very rapidly today, and it would be foolish to predict what the capital ship will be in 5 years or 10 years. The littoral combat ship, when she becomes operational, will be important because it lets us have more ships that we can put inland in the context of coastal and regional operations.
Along with the littoral combat ship, the Navy has under development several radically different types of warships. The CVN-21 will take over for the Nimitz class as the new supercarrier. It will provide significant improvements in warfighting capabilities. The mission of the DDG-1000, our land attack destroyer, is extended range precision fire support for land forces.
Capital ships change. We've gone down to 11 carriers. We're going down to 10 in a couple of years. I wouldn't be surprised if the number a decade from now is 8 or 9. To my own mind, as important as the large deck carriers, the large nuclear-powered CVNs, increasingly will be the LHA, LHD, large amphibious ships. Why? Because the Joint Strike Fighter, which will be a first-rate aircraft, will be able to fly from those ships.
There's an old expression, the only constant is change. That is especially true for the U.S. Navy, as surface ships are being called on to play new roles.
But in this context, certain things remain the same. The fact that commercial trade goes by the sea, the fact that the war on terrorism is going to be with us for a long time, the fact that we cannot easily put ground troops in other countries and maintain them there, in my opinion, for as long as one can see into the future, navies with Marine Corps, with Special Operations Forces, will be the service of choice for the United States.
Whatever changes are in store for the future surface Navy, one constant will remain. For the Naval Media Center, I'm Petty Officer David Michael Ross.
Sea Lion 2 is one example of a new ship and new technology that may become part of a future fleet. Using the ships and people of the Navy effectively and in the national interest entails a plan. I asked Admiral Morgan about the concept and status of our maritime strategy.
Strategy really is about the ways and means to achieve an end. The end is our national aspirations as the American public. It's our national policies, it's our national level strategies. And so the maritime strategy is really how do the sea services and how does American sea power, what ways and means do they use to achieve those ends? So that's what our work has been about. Where we stand on developing the maritime strategy is we're really at sort of the culmination of a year-long effort. And what's been unique about this effort is that we've had the active participation of not only the Navy, but the Marine Corps and the Coast Guard. And I would say it's to an unprecedented level of cooperation among those three services. We really wanted to build a strategy that's about American sea power. This is not a maritime strategy about the U.S. Navy. It's not specifically about the Marine Corps or the Coast Guard, but it really is about American sea power. We've conducted a competition of ideas. The process has been very open and inclusive. It's not only included our three maritime services, but we've gone out to the American public, and we've also gone abroad to our international allies and friends around the world. So where we stand is that after a year-long effort, we are just about to produce a document that will be staffed one more time with naval component commanders around the world. We'll ask those naval component commanders to share this work with our key friends and allies so we can get an international opinion as well, and then we'll be prepared to submit it for signature by the three service chiefs.
Be sure to pick up the August issue of All Hands magazine, featuring a story on sailors being treated at Brooke Army Medical Center. We'll have more of the show after this.
Well, here at NSA Suda we provide a logistical support to the Sixth Fleet ships, aircraft, and personnel. And by doing so, we are enabling them to better do their job in today's global war on terror.
NSA Suda is the last gas stop for all aircraft heading to Iraq. Hence, our mission for the global war on terrorism is vital and important.
The importance of NSA Suda to both 5th and 6th Fleet is we are the closest military base to the Suez Canal and to the Middle East right now in the Mediterranean Sea, where both ships and aircraft from both fleets can stop by for replenishment, port calls, pick up cargo, personnel transfers, anything that they need in this area we can supply.
Because of our support role that we play in the global war on terrorism, we take our jobs very seriously.
Apply for duty overseas. Talk to your career counselor for more information.
In the August issue of All Hands magazine, we travel to Brooks Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas, where 21st century medical technology is being used to help sailors and Marines on the road to recovery. We also check in with the next generation of leaders as they are introduced to life at the Naval Academy. Look for the August issue of All Hands magazine, your passport to everything Navy.
You've probably heard the phrase, a fleet for the future. Well, perhaps for Military Sealift Command, the future is now. Sergeant Phil Grondin gives us an inside look at the dry cargo and ammunition ship of the 21st century.
It's not too often that you get a brand new ship of any kind of ship. In this case, it was a brand new ship, first in class,
through automation in the design, we can ultimately deliver more cargo with less manning.
I think this ship offers a great deal of flexibility.
The military Sealift Command is revolutionizing how supply ships are built and delivered to the U.S. government. It's leading the way with a new class of ship that can handle various types of cargo and deliver it both more efficiently and effectively. MSC has already accepted delivery of the first 3 ships of the TAKE class, USNS Lewis and Clark, Sacagawea, and Alan Shepard. MSC's mission is to provide ocean transportation of fuel, equipment, supplies, and ammunition to sustain U.S. and coalition forces overseas. Art Diaz is the command's senior owner's representative for the TAKE-class ship at the NASCO shipyard in San Diego, California.
Obviously, we need ships with a great deal of flexibility. This ship that we're on has tremendous capability. There are a lot of things that you can do with it. A lot of different things, and I think that's going to be very important in the future, to be able to provide a supply platform and a replenishment platform for a number of missions.
In the case of TAKE, this ship, with the design it has, is going to replace an old AE and an old AFS ship, so we have combined quality, a 2-product cargo ship that's going to deliver goods in a better manner and an optimal manner to our fleet.
The ship's construction process is monitored step by step until its delivery to the government.
While it's being built, there is oversight by U.S. Coast Guard through ABS, and they oversee the development of the ship in conjunction with the supervisor shipbuilder. As the ship nears delivery, we certify each of the components and systems on board the ship. Once we have everything certified and all the documents signed by the Coast Guard, we turn over the ship to the government and then to MSC, and it's pretty much all done in the same day.
On June 20th, 2006 was one of the most challenging days in 25 years with MSC, because June 19th we had no responsibility for the ship whatsoever. So I had a civilian crew of 124 people, military of 11 at the time. On June 20th at noon, the ship was signed for, accepted into MSC, and suddenly we had all responsibility for the ship.
The USNS Lewis and Clark was the first ship in the new TAKE class to be delivered to MSC. Captain Rockwood recalls some of the challenges the crew faced on the first day aboard.
From an engineering standpoint, they had to monitor the generators, have enough generators online to keep the lights on, keep the power going. They had to make sure that the sewage system was handling 124 people, that civilians and 11 military that had just moved aboard and started flushing the toilets.
As the Navy continues to steam ahead with the proposed 313 ship fleet of the future, USNS Lewis and Clark and others of its class will become more essential to maintaining the Navy's readiness.
What we do is logistics, and for that, this ship is designed in an incredible manner. We have a main deck down below that just goes from the bow to the stern, right through the flight deck, that is completely unencumbered by obstructions as is designed on many other ships. This ship, when we receive cargo, the ship basically gobbles it up and puts it below, and you hardly even know you've taken any cargo aboard. And when we're sending cargo, because our main deck is so huge, we can pre-stage cargo and send it to customers faster than they can possibly receive it.
Technological advances has simplified command and control, reducing manpower requirements.
Commercially, worldwide, bigger ships are running with less men every day. And this ship is designed to operate with 1 man on the bridge during the day and 2 men at night. Now, MSC will never operate the ship that way because we're manned for underway replenishment. So we have full bridge watches 24 hours a day. The layout up here is designed for 1 man to be able to see the horizon, see customer ships. The windows are extraordinarily large. He can stand at the steering console and see more than 180 degrees of the horizon. He actually can see abaft the beam on both sides. The electronics is designed to satisfy one man up here. The ship will actually steer itself and follow a track and arrive at its destination all electronically. We have what are called MCCS screens up here, that's main control screens, so that we can control engine room functions. I tease the chief engineer by telling him that I'm on the bridge and I'm trying to start a main diesel generator. How do I do that again? But he of course knows I'm not going to try to do it, but technically I can do it. There's multiple control systems for any of the critical components on here, so that if one fails, another one will pick it up. Of course, a human will have to get involved and reboot the failed system, which is apparently the best way to fix many of our problems, which is just like at home, Control-Alt-Delete and we're better. The bridge is set up with literal paths so that the mate on watch, as he goes from bridge wing to bridge wing, is not obstructed, doesn't have to take a circuitous route. There's actually regulations for how close the consoles can be to the front window so that he has a clear path.
The introduction of USNS Lewis and Clark into MSC's inventory signals the arrival of the future of Navy resupply. Captain Rockwood expects the ship to be around for decades to come.
This ship, it's designed to operate for 40 years, which is quite a long lifespan for a ship at the onset. I mean, in my experience, they normally have a shorter anticipated lifespan, and then we end up running them longer than anticipated. This one started out last year upon delivery with a 40-year lifespan, so I anticipate it servicing the Navy and doing a good job for all that period of time. We're diesel electric, so we've got 4 diesels that add redundancy so we can operate with less than all 4, of course. I fully expect the ship to be steaming thousands upon thousands of miles over the next 40 years.
Next month, we're going to step ashore as Corporal Robert Durham takes us along during a TRUEX with the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit. And we will continue to bring you stories about Navy heritage as we prepare for the centennial of the voyage of the Great White Fleet. For the Naval Media Center team, I'm Petty Officer Matt Oldham. Thanks for watching.